Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show, where we co-create powerful, conscious conversations on the leading edge. Whew, I am so out of breath. Hold on a second. I just want to... This is crazy. I am dog sitting here, and I had to run downstairs to take care of the kiddo really fast. Like I said earlier on the pre-show, wow, doing live shows, you never know what's going to happen. So it's fun because, yeah, you just have fun with it and keep on rolling. So, while I catch my breath from running up the stairs, I want to welcome Angie Campbell back on the show. She's the dance goddess, and I am so excited for our conversation because we always have so much fun. So welcome, Angie. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on again, Angela. Yeah, that was an incredible day. It was beautiful, but it was the real crisp, cold, like freezing a day up at Loch Lubnig, which is north of here, about an hour. But yes, especially for you.
Well, we're not going to do wild and crazy things this time, but we are going to talk about some really cool things that you've manifested rather quickly. And so we're going to just dive in there because it's really, really fun. And I want you to really take us along on this journey, kind of start us like in the before, and let's talk about how it all manifested. Like where did you start, like thinking about what you wanted, and then, so then I'll probably stop you along the way.
So as far as the apartment is concerned, so the apartment that I'm in at the moment, I think I started thinking about it when I was still living in Australia. I came back from Australia, it was the end of 2014, and I was living with my mum, and which was great. My mum and I got on so well, we're like sisters, and we have a great laugh, and she's such good company. But yeah, it was getting to the stage where I felt, no, it's time, I need to move out, and I had it in my mind very clearly, the kind of place that I wanted. I knew that I wanted an apartment, as much as I love houses and beautiful gardens and things like that. I thought, well, if I'm going to be moving to a place on my own, I wanted somewhere that was quite secure, for example, so somewhere with an intercom and an apartment with other people around me, and I was quite clear that I wanted 2 bedrooms. I wanted a view, particularly of the hills here, and also some kind of water. I didn't want it to be too high, so ideally 2 floors up. So I was really specific in the kind of thing I wanted, and I envisioned the colours and the colour schemes and all that, my little bits and pieces and things like that. And it has manifested exactly that. I am next to the canal here, so the water is beautiful. See it every day and at night, and the stars and the moon shining on it, and I can see the hills as well from the same window.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, and so you started manifesting that in, you said 2014?
Well, I started thinking when I was still in Australia. I knew that I wanted to have an apartment, because before I left to go and live in Australia, I was in a house, which was lovely. But the garden took a bit of maintenance, I thought, well, I'd really like to be in an apartment again because I grew up in an apartment with mum and dad, with a lovely view as well. So I had it in my mind that I wanted an apartment, but I didn't really start thinking about the specifics of it and the details until probably, I would say, last year, because I was definitely ready. Okay, right, I'm ready to move out now. A few things have been happening, ready to move out. So it was only then that I really started thinking about specific things. So that was last year.
Yeah, okay. And then, so remind me, I'm trying to remember timeline wise, when you actually got the studio before the apartment, the dance studio?
Yes, that's right. I did, because when I was, again, thinking about what I wanted to manifest, I had it in my mind that I really wanted a lovely different space. Specifically, I love Victorian buildings. So old building, high ceiling, with the white cornicing around, very Victorian feel about it. And in actual, so that was, I was looking sort of last summer, I started looking. And I let go of the how. And I started looking at hiring dance studios in schools, community centres here, sports halls, because they had mirrors. There were nice new spaces, wooden floors, so it was very practical. But nothing was really appealing to me. And it was through my lovely yoga teacher, Sarah Gibb, who told me of Diane Ingle's studio in the town here. So I went along to meet her. Wonderful woman. She owns the studio. And there it was, old Victorian department store. So it's been around for over 100 years. Big high ceilings. And actually going up the steps was like when I used to go to dance classes in the 70s. So it felt like it was 1975 again, walking up those old stone steps.
Oh.
And I was going to ballet class. It just, everything just felt perfect.
Yeah, almost like alternate reality that you were walking in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you and I, we were part of Carolyn McKinley's awesome program, Abundance Alchemy. And during that program, she had me walk us all through an envisioning process. And so I would love to know from your perspective, let's talk about the envisioning process, because, we've kind of touched on it with how you thought about the details and all of that. But I want to give people a really good sense of what envisioning is and how, once you started envisioning, how that affected your ability to manifest in terms of your apartment and the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. It was incredible, and actually watching it again. So watching back, really getting into the feel of it again. It's so important. Well, first of all, it's so important to be very detailed, because the old saying, "Be careful what you wish for," is true. So you have to be really, really clear about the detail, exactly what you want. And that's really the first thing. And that was one amazing thing about the envision process. But I think the second thing is you're really embodying it. So you're there, you can see all the colours around you. You breathe in, breathing in the fresh air when I open the windows, the fresh flowers in the vase, looking up to the really high ceilings, and actually sort of being there and really getting a visual of the space and how big and open the space was. So bringing as many senses as possible into that. I mean, even things down to like making my first cup of coffee here. And I know exactly what a good cup of coffee tastes like. So that was easy enough to think about, the taste of that. And so that to me is what really gives the extra edge in the envision process is embodying and using all your senses.
Well, and I'm not sure about people that are watching and listening, but just as you're giving us like that top layer and describing this, I can tap into the energy of your envision of this this apartment and your dance studio, just in how you describe it. So let's actually, I want to keep opening this up so we go even deeper, because I think it is so important that people understand that it is this embodiment that really activates. When I look at the word envision, that's why I chose that word for the program, envision experience. You look at the word envision, and it's energy and vision. So you marry the
Yes.
two together. And then that's what amplifies your ability to manifest in incredibly fast ways.
Yeah, so and the energy is huge in it. So the passion that you're feeling for it and the emotion that is involved in it. The breathing, the sigh of relief is as I'm coming in and closing the door, and I come in here. If I've been out somewhere, I come in here and actually come in and say hello.
Yeah.
And it's really feeling the energy of the space and the elation of actually getting the apartment in the first place, because it almost didn't happen.
Well, yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that, because I remember that story, and it's fun. And I want people to think about their own life. Have things like this have happened where it feels like completely divinely inspired, or divinely lined up. So yeah, tell this story, please.
Yeah, so it was actually the second place. It seems to be a bit of a recurring theme, actually. The second of something that I go and see, or the second of something that happens, second job, job interview, that kind of thing. Yeah, so the first place that I went to see, which I really loved, and actually the landlord of the place was the nephew of a really good friend of mine. And at once I thought, oh wow, this is meant. But then someone then got in before me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. And I thought, okay, then I thought, no, that it must not be for me. And so this was the second place that I looked at. And straight away when I came in, it was, I remember actually the year before talking to a psychic friend who had said that had spoken about the number of the place. In actual fact, it's number 44, which is a lovely master number too. The landlords of the place, they live in Sydney, so there's Australian connection. There was a bottle of my favourite perfume, empty though, next to the bed as well when I walked in. And I went through the process of applying to get it, and there was a problem because I won't go into the ins and outs of it, but the way that I'm actually self-employed teacher. Mm-hmm. So because of that, they initially said, well, the way that my wages work depends on how many students I have and on a daily basis. So then it was a case of, yeah, you're not going to be able to. But then a couple of days later, I asked them if I could do it in a different way, and they said yes straight away. So at that point, the point before, I thought, well, that's it. I'm not going to get it. But then, and I let it go. And then she came back to me a couple of days later and said that the second proposal I had put forward was accepted. Number 2 again.
Number 2. Well, and that's a great point, that staying in the flow. That is so, because we get so caught up in the outcome, and it is important, like you said, to get really, really very detailed in your envisioning. But then you do have to completely let it go, because the quantum field then is at work trying to maneuver and shift the quantum particles to create this reality. And there is sometimes there are better outcomes for us than what we can even imagine. And so it's what you're saying about being able to kind of be in that flow and not get all upset that it didn't look like it was working out the first time, that you were able to come back with pretty clean energy and just then continue the manifestation process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so important, because the more you're grasping onto that dream that you want, the more it's going to slip through, just like sand. And it was almost like the fact that I just then let go that, and then it was like just straight in there. It was incredible. How it happened. And the same with the dance studio, because it's almost like I had, and I hadn't even thought of, and it was a very, as I said, my yoga teacher who had mentioned Diane's place, and I was looking in all the other places. I hadn't, and it was a place that I drive past that quite often on a daily basis, but I hadn't even entered.
That's so interesting, because I'm not sure about you, but I know that for me personally, I have had that same experience where, like, people will make recommendations, or they'll like, I'll be getting little messages, but for some reason they're not catching my attention enough. And so it's interesting how it wasn't in your awareness enough that it was just like, it was just like a subtle little tiny clues that all along were there if maybe you had paid a little bit more attention.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, just incredible. And it was because I was going to yoga with Sarah, but I was actually filming my dance videos in her lovely yoga studio as well. So I feel that there's that there always seems to be a connection. There are always those that help, if you allow those to help and be open to help as well. And as you say, just listen out for those little suggestions or something you hear, or that'll kind of set you down another path.
Yeah, I kind of, as you're talking about that, I kind of get the sense that it's like you're almost scanning the field. Like, I don't know if on an intellectual level that may not make sense, but just intuitively scanning the field and noticing what are those little things that are kind of popping out at you, those little tiny messages. And yeah, so I think the more we can listen to that, we're getting help all the time, like I say. Yeah, it's fun when we can fine tune our intuition to be able to follow those little signals, because boy, we sure would. Life would be so much easier if we got the first little messages.
Yes, instead of ignoring.
Yeah.
And then eventually it'll be like, just right there in front of your face.
Yeah. Well, and when I was traveling through Europe, that's how I was envisioning on a moment-to-moment, day-to-day basis to manifest the money that I needed to travel through Europe and go to, I think I went to 4 countries, and at one point, from a ego perspective, I had $15 in my bank account, and I didn't have I didn't have a credit card for backup or anything like that. And here I am in another country, in London, where things are astronomical.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And I just, what I did was I focused on what is the next most important thing. And I just kept so focused on what is that I simply kind of put the blinders on and didn't allow the, I was, for the most part, during that whole entire trip, I was really quite calm. Like, I even remember thinking, wow, how is it that I'm so calm in these, like, potentially very challenging situations of, not having a full bank account that I could always access. So, yeah, that was interesting. Quite the learning experience for me, and in trust. And
yes. Yes, the trust is so important. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
Having that faith.
and I really try to apply what I learned on that trip and the envisioning to my day to day. So I'm not looking too far ahead. It's like, again, what is it that what's right here that I need to take care of? And, then I also will have, say, what it is long term that I would like. But then it's kind of like, I trust that where I am here and following my guidance here is going to get me to that end result.
Yeah, yeah,
And being,
totally agree with
in
you.
the
Yeah,
flow and enjoying the process as I go along.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, and what ties into that actually is, as I'm thinking, so my mom, she is always the first beta tester of any any program or any wild idea that I have. And so bless her heart. And she actually was one of my first people that did the Envision movie. And what she did was she was manifesting a dog sitting business, right?
Oh wow, yeah.
And we talked about this actually a couple episodes ago, so I won't go into too much detail about that. But what's interesting is that very quickly, within about a week or so, her dog, I mean, she didn't really have a dog sitting business. She was dog sitting for a few friends here and there. But after she did the Envision movie, it pretty much, she all of a sudden started getting all of these people contacting her. And just a few weeks ago, she had like 7 dogs that she was caretaking at once. And the business has started to expand so much that because I'm able to be in the flow and look at my life and what I would like to do, which is I love traveling, that we're expanding the business so that I take on all of the clients, the dog sitting jobs where, like here, I'm now house sitting and dog sitting, and this we're
Yeah.
local, but we're expanding to out of the state and internationally. So I'll be the
Yes.
one, traveling around and doing the dog sitting, and it's incredible because this is something that I'm able to take the show on the road and do the show wherever I am.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at this place is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. It's
And
perfect. It's just perfect for you. That whole situation and just being able to, as you say, just doing the show from wherever. Fantastic.
yes, and I only was able to do this because I was able to be in the flow and recognize and put the pieces together and say,
Yeah.
this is her business is really taking off, and she's needing my help. And wow, how can I expand this to even further to fulfill my dream of traveling? Because at this point in my life, I feel very nomadic, and I would love to just go from one house to the next, around the world. I mean, how incredible would that be?
Oh wow, that would just be incredible. Yes.
And then I'm going to meet my Prince Charming along the way,
Oh
Maybe
yes.
maybe when I come back to Scotland for a dog sit or
Yes. 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 So that would have been my next thing. You're Prince Charming here in Scotland. Yes.
yes, in Scotland. Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and it's the same for me because as I had said to you, I had been thinking about an apartment while I was in Australia, but it wasn't until I did the Envision process and really embodied the feeling of it and getting into the energy and utilizing all the senses that things really started moving. And
yes.
it's all of those things together that makes a huge difference.
Well, so I'm curious, do you remember from the time that we did the envisioning movie, how long was it before the first thing that happened from your envision movie? Do you remember?
Now, Angela, I'm trying to remember when we did that. Did you think it was about August or July, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was traveling in October, so it was yes, it was sometime before that, and you were going to the studio to record videos. I remember that.
Yes, yes. So
And
that
then
would have been.
you manifested the apartment right after, like literally, like the week after I left from Scotland.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And I said that in the envision process.
Yes.
Yeah. I said that the ball started rolling just after Angela left, after we had had an amazing time. Yeah. You just reminded me. I said that in the that's amazing.
You know, I love that it tickles me so much that, you know, just tapping into this energy and knowing just how powerful we are as creators, and that for me too, it's like until I tapped into the envisioning process and actually did it and stepped into it, did I start manifesting unbelievably. Before, I was, you know, always scratching my head trying to figure out, you know, I'm doing all this law of attraction stuff. I'm doing it all right. And I'm like, I'm staying in the high vibration, and I'm focusing, and it just wasn't coming. And I was like, gosh, what am I doing wrong? And then, and then once I did that first Envision movie when I was talking about like the producers and getting the show on network television, and then that was like, whoa, unbelievable how it happened in like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're connecting to your future self in the envision process, and that is so it is. It's like you're actually meeting yourself at a parallel universe, or it's another timeline, and so there's so many of those factors that come into play when you do that process that you can't. I mean, vision boards are great.
Yeah.
You've got the pictures all the time, and I did those, and I used to have them on the computer and stuff as well, but yeah, it's not. So I was seeing the things, but it's not until I brought in the other senses and the energy of it, and that's when it was like boom. Yeah, that's I can't get over that, Angela. Yeah, I remember saying that it all happened after you left. I said that in the video, and it did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, okay. So I do have a challenge for people if you guys want. If you are watching this on Facebook Live, then you can type challenge in the comments. And what I'm going to do is I'll send you a link to sign up for the Envisioning Challenge, and that's going to walk you through the steps of the Envision process. You know, it's kind of like a simplified version of it. And then I am actually running the next Envision experience coming up in the next month or so, and I'm really, really excited about it because I have some things that I want to start envisioning in a bigger way, and it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to help people dream much bigger and stretch, and then have those dreams manifested rather quickly. So yeah, so I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Yes, the envision. Yeah, I definitely. All those watching, do the envision challenge, and it'd be fun actually to hear how you all get on.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's going to be awesome. And then for next week, I have, and you know Shirley Bolstock is joining me back on the show, and it's going to be another awesome episode. And yes, people absolutely loved when Shirley was on last. It was, I think, season 6 of the show, and she did some really powerful DNA activations, and she's going to be joining us again for a two-part show. So we're going to do like the interview like this, and then for those that are in Goddess Lifestyle School, they're going to have a really awesome treat, and Shirley is going to walk us through some more incredible DNA activations. And so yeah.
She is incredible, and she's such a. Oh, I love her energy as well. She's such a hoot. She's a great laugh too. You'll have so much fun.
Oh yes. Tons of fun. So if you are a listener on iTunes or listening to the podcast, listening to the replay, I sure hope that you decide to join us live, because doing the show on Facebook Live is so much fun, and we do the pre-show party, and you never know what's going to happen, like dogs barking and run up and down stairs and all that. So. But thank you so much, Angie, for joining me today. This was so much fun. It's always a treat to hang out with you and spend time with you. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Angela. It's just been wonderful to chat to you again. And thanks again for the opportunity. And I just, there's so much to be thankful to you for, really. I'm just so blessed that you came into my life. You're just amazing.
Likewise. And you sure put it on your calendar. I'm going to be visiting you this next year. So, or within the year, I should say.
Yes. Oh, wonderful. It would be amazing to see you again.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. I hope you enjoyed today's guest and got something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at theawakenedgoddess.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.